Hey, this is Will. So in this episode, I'm going to tell you how to start a print-on-demand business, everything step by step. I'll try to keep this as concise as possible and only tell you the things that really matter. And I will leave some links, by the way, for some useful resources that I'm going to mention and some different tools and whatnot. And I do have actually some special discounts and bonuses, so make sure to check out all of the links in the description. Also make sure to check out my main YouTube channel and my Instagram for some quick and actionable growth hacks. Now let's jump straight into the episode. So let's make it very clear from the beginning. First of all, I think there are two different ways how you can do print on demand. So first of all, you can use print on demand providers and you can create your own store using them. Or the second method is you can leverage other platforms. So for example, there are these different platforms like Zazzle, like Society6, so on and so forth. And all that you do is you create your own designs and you put them on these platforms, and then people, when they go through these platforms, they search for the different designs, they might come across your design and they might purchase your design. So you don't really need to do any marketing. All of the marketing is basically done for you in this case. The profit margins on these platforms are really low. And honestly, I have not seen anyone that is making any substantial money through these platforms. I've seen some people that have made, maybe they make few $100s a month. Maybe maximum I've seen a couple of $1,000s, but that's even after doing years and uploading thousands of different designs. So I really would not advise to do that, and I do see a lot of people talking about it. There's a lot of videos on YouTube and whatnot, and I just don't see the point in it, because at the end of the day, you're not really going to make substantial money. So if you are afraid to open your own store, you don't know how to do marketing, any of that, then probably it's better to choose some kind of different type of business, because if you do print on demand using these platforms, it's not really going to work. There is one method that you can actually use to leverage other audiences that allows you to generate pretty decent income, and that is using Etsy. So Etsy, I would say, is somewhat of an exception. It's definitely not very easy. I don't want to say that right away you are going to make a ton of money, but that is an exception because you can also have higher margins. You can set your own margins that are much higher than if you're just leveraging all of these other platforms. But at the same time, if you are opening your own store, you are driving your own traffic, you can definitely accelerate very quick if you know how to do things, if you're doing everything right. Whereas with Etsy, it's definitely going to take time to start growing and all of these type of things, and you still don't own your own store. So if Etsy decides they're going to change your algorithm, everything can change overnight and your listings might not rank anymore. Etsy, sometimes there have been cases where they just ban accounts, and for basically no really reason, they can just ban your account and you lose your whole business overnight. So it is a pretty scary idea. I don't want to discourage you because I've done Etsy and I absolutely love it. But at the same time, do keep in mind that you're not really owning that. And if, let's say, some people leave bad reviews, which has happened to me before, when people are just, some people, they're going to leave bad reviews just because they are unhappy for whatever reason, even if it's not your fault. And then that can really impact your Etsy business. Whereas if you have your own store, you can deal with those issues in different type of ways. So I would definitely recommend to have your own store if you're going to start a print-on-demand business. So there's actually quite a lot of different print-on-demand providers that you can choose from. I would say there are two main ones. So you got Printify and you also got Printful. These are sort of the biggest ones and they have the most different products to choose from. And I'm not going to go too much in depth on which one is better because I have made a really good review comparison video. So just type in my name and type in Printful versus Printify and you can decide for yourself which one is the better one for you. There are some other options out there as well. But basically you want to go through these print-on-demand providers and you want to see first of all whether they even have the products that you want to produce. A lot of people start out with t-shirts because t-shirts are just very simple and everyone wears t-shirts, but at the same time you might want to think a little bit outside the box because if everyone is doing t-shirts, obviously the competition is very high, and if you manage to find some other items that are a little bit more interesting, and if perhaps you already, for example, have a niche in mind, so let's say you already are, let's say you're a yogi and you know that yoga niche is really good and you don't want to do just yoga t-shirts because there are so many out there already, and you want to do yoga leggings or you want to do yoga mats, then check these providers, perhaps one of them, and there are some, actually I already done this research before, there are some that do yoga mats and they do yoga leggings. So one of the most important things when it comes to print on demand is to find a good niche. And again, I'm not going to go super in depth. Check out, I have made another video how to find a really good niche where I go step by step how to do all of that. But basically when it comes to print on demand especially, I would say you need to find niches that are very passionate. Most of the time, let's be honest, you're not going to make some designs that are just very cool designs and they appeal to mass audience. You can definitely do that, but a lot of times when it comes to print on demand, you just want to find a good niche that is passionate and you can create some sort of design that is going to relate to that niche and they are going to be more likely to purchase it. So basically just start Googling, start very broad and go through all of the main biggest niches and just find some of the most popular ones, some of the most passionate ones, and then go down, basically start narrowing it down, find the different sub niches, so on and so forth. And as you go through this process, you are going to start discovering more and more and start getting more different ideas. And there are a few different tools that you can use. You can use tools like keyword surfer. So if you type in certain niches, it's going to show you the search volume, it's going to show you related keywords. Answer the Public is a tool that I like to use quite a lot. Ubersuggest is another amazing tool. Also, just go on social media. I know that isn't very sort of calculated way of finding a good niche, but I do find that it is pretty easy way to get ideas that you wouldn't really find in any other way. So just go on social media, go on YouTube, go on Instagram. Pinterest is really good for this as well, and sort of just go into this hole where you are just looking what are people talking about. And again, let's say if you go to Pinterest, you type in one of the major niches, then from there you will see all of the different pins, and the pins are going to go in deeper and deeper into different topics, different sub niches, so on and so forth. Once you find a niche that you think is a good niche, then you need to do a little bit of testing to see whether it's actually a good niche or not. So first of all, just do some basic keyword research. Type in your niche, type in perhaps your niche plus the product that you are thinking of selling, and see what is the search volume. Again, you can use something like keyword surfer to do this. And then you also want to see how much interest there is, again, on all of the different social media platforms, whether people are actually interested in that niche. Also go on Google Trends and see whether the interest for the niche is increasing or decreasing in the past few years. And of course, you also want to check out the competition. Don't worry if there is some competition that basically is just a proof of concept that this niche can actually work, but just make sure that there isn't too much competition, it's not crazy saturated, or there aren't some players that basically you will not be able to compete. If there's just some competition but you think that you might have some sort of edge, then that might definitely be a good niche. One very important thing that I always like to preach about is that when you are looking for a niche, the mistake that a lot of people make, they just find a niche that looks very good on paper. There's a lot of interest, there's a lot of passion, not much competition, but at the end of the day, if you don't know how to drive traffic to that niche or from that niche, then you are going to fail. So always when you are doing this, again, this is why I'm also saying go on social media, see what's happening there. You always need to think, how can I market to that niche? So keep this in mind as well. Basically have all these different columns, I like to call them buckets, where you put in all of the niches that have high search volume, the niches that have low competition. You put all of the different marketing methods. So are you going to perhaps run Facebook ads? Are you going to do, let's say, Instagram marketing? Are you going to work with influencers? Are you going to use SEO? Are you going to use Pinterest? There are a lot of different ways how you can drive traffic to your store, but basically check out what is going to be possible, because not all of the different marketing methods are going to work for every single niche, and also see whether there is competition. So for example, again, if let's say you're doing something like yoga, see if you go on Pinterest, is there a lot of competition for your specific products, for print-on-demand products within that niche on Pinterest? If you see that, okay, maybe there are a lot of different players that are in the yoga niche that are doing basically what you are planning to do, but no one is using Pinterest or no one is actually running Google ads, then that might mean that there is some sort of gap where you can jump in and you can actually make a lot of money, because even if there is competition, people aren't doing these marketing methods and you can do them. And this is kind of how I like to think about things. All right, so the next thing is, and I know this is where a lot of people get confused about, it's finding designs. And especially if you're not a designer, this might sound very, very scary, but don't be afraid. There are a lot of different ways how you can do this very, very simple. So most of the time, as I said, you find a niche that you want to sort of relate to. So a lot of these print-on-demand products, they are products that are perhaps funny products, or they're sort of relatable products. So there are actually, even if you have no ideas whatsoever what to do, there are different formulas that you can take. You can just search for those formulas on Google, and there are different formulas where you can basically just put in your niche or some word from your niche. For example, if again we're in yoga niche, let's say a yogi would be a word. So every yogi likes this and that, you know, and you just basically need to fill in the blanks, and then you have your writing your concept of a t-shirt, and then you basically just need to put that into the design. So you can definitely start doing something like this just to get some ideas. I would say also one thing that works really, really well for me at least is go on different niches and see what works really well there, because a lot of times people, they go to on their own niche and obviously go to all of these different websites, go to the Zazzles, go to Society6, go to Etsy, Amazon, wherever you want. Go on these different websites and see what are the best sellers, what are the most popular products, and start kind of getting a little bit of understanding of what works well. And do you get some inspiration But first of all, please do not copy, because if you're going to copy designs, you might get in trouble. And I mean, it is just a horrible thing to do, but aside from that, you might actually get in trouble for doing that. So do not do that, but you can definitely start getting a little bit of inspiration. And a lot of people, when they go to get this inspiration, they look at their own niche and they see what is performing really well on that niche. And yes, sometimes you might take certain designs that work really well for your niche, and then you put your own touch, you change up things, and you might improve those designs, and they might sell even better. That is definitely possible, but I would also say it's a little bit tricky, because if you don't change them enough, if you don't improve them enough, they are going to be still very, very similar, and it's going to be hard to compete. So instead of that, what you can do is you can go on other different niches and see what works really well in those niches, and then take those concepts, and again, you don't copy, but take certain concepts from there and then bring those concepts into your own niche and see how you can adapt them into your own niche. And a lot of times I also like to mix things up. So perhaps I see that, okay, on this one niche, they have this really cool writing, the really cool way how they write out the text. And on this other niche, they have these really cool images that go together. And if I combine both of these and then put on a little bit of my own touch that works better for my own niche, then that can be a really good winning design. And one thing that I think a lot of people get wrong quite a bit is that they think that to create these print-on-demand products, you need to have really amazing designs for people to buy. But honestly, it can be very, very simple, and sometimes simplicity works better than very complex designs. I would say, actually, I don't know, personally, I love minimalist things. As you can see, I'm wearing just a black t-shirt and that's it. Well, if you're listening to this as podcast, you can't see, but I do like minimalistic things, and I feel like a lot of people do. So honestly, I have sold a ton of t-shirts that are just text t-shirts, and that is it. So what I mentioned before, funny writings, relatable writings, things like that, just put in a really nice font that looks kind of cool. Obviously you don't want just basic font, but even things like that can sell really, really well. And honestly, there are some stores that are making thousands and thousands of dollars every single month, and they don't have any designs whatsoever. They're only selling text. Obviously, you might want to have some nice designs as well, depending on what kind of products you are selling. And there are a couple ways to go about if you are not a designer. First of all, there are some websites, and I will leave again some of the useful links in the description, and I have some discounts and bonuses for those. There are websites that give you, well, basically you can pay a fee, a monthly fee, or you can pay one-time fee per each design. But basically you can purchase designs that you can use on your own merchandise, and there are some absolutely amazing designs, some really beautiful designs. And sometimes you can just take that design, put it on your product, and that is it, and start selling it right away. You can also just take some of these designs and then add your own things, combine things together to make them look a little bit better. Also, outsourcing is very cheap, or well, it can be very cheap. I feel that people, when they start out, they're always afraid to invest money and they expect that it's going to be very costly. But honestly, again, I will leave some websites where you can hire people to do designs for you, and it is really cheap. I have hired designers before. There are websites where you can hire a designer that you work one-to-one, sort of. You pay a fee to hire a person to, well, post on the website, and then hire someone, and then you work one-to-one. There are also even services where you pay a monthly fee and you get a certain amount of designs, or you can even use something as simple as Fiverr to just order one-off type of design services. So there's a lot of different options, and again, I'm going to leave some of the useful links where you can find some really cheap designers. So don't be afraid, you can outsource this honestly for a very cheap price. So once you have decided what niche you're going for, what products you're going to sell, and all of those type of things, then as I mentioned before, you decide which print-on-demand provider you're going to use, whether it's Printful, Printify, or something else. So once you have your Printify or Printful account set up, you have added your products, you have added your designs, all of that is done. Then you need to start your store, and there are a few options technically that you can do, but I would say really the only options you should think about are Shopify and WooCommerce. When it comes to these two, I would say Shopify is sort of a very simple way of start selling. It's very easy to start out with. The interface is really nice, and it does have a trial, so you can try it out free for a couple of weeks. After that, you will need to pay $29 per month, and then if you want to use certain apps, you will need to pay fees for those apps as well every single month. And there are some free apps that you can use, and they do have, by the way, both Shopify and WooCommerce, they have very quick integration, so you just press couple of buttons and that is it, and you are integrated, and all of the products, everything syncs automatically, so you don't need to do anything. They will automatically sync from your Printful or Printify to your store, which is just absolutely amazing. And when it comes to WooCommerce, I would say it's a little bit more complex option. You basically need to open up a website on WordPress, which isn't that difficult, don't get scared or anything. And then you just install a WooCommerce plugin. It basically just allows you to have the e-commerce function on your WordPress website. And the plus side here is that it is a lot cheaper. You can get hosting for as cheap as $4 a month. So $30 compared to $4 is quite a bit of a difference. And you also have a website that you can customize a lot more. And if you're going to do something like blogging, I would say is definitely much better on WordPress. So these are kind of the things that you need to keep in mind. With Shopify, is going to be just super easy to start out, and everything looks really nice, and there's a ton of apps. And with WooCommerce, it is a little bit more complex. I am very used to it, so for me it isn't that difficult or anything, I wouldn't say. But you do have, by the way, the plugins that you have on WooCommerce, for most of them, you will only need to pay one-time fee, and that is it. So you don't have all of these monthly fees that come with Shopify. So you save up more money when it comes to all of that as well. And the monthly hosting is cheaper as well. So you have to basically choose, do you want to save up some money, or do you want to have it a little bit easier but pay higher price? The only one more important thing I would say that you need to understand when it comes to WooCommerce is that with Shopify, technically you can build out some sales funnels, but it is pretty complex and you need a lot of other different tools. Whereas with WordPress, there are some plugins that make it pretty easy, I would say, to build out sales funnels. And this is something that's a little bit more advanced. And again, it depends whether you want to go that route or not. But for example, let's say I preach quite a lot about digital products, and you can definitely have some digital products that go along with your print-on-demand products, or even if not digital products, you can sell additional print-on-demand products that, for example, let's say you want to have something like upsells, or you want to have cross sells, or you want to have order bump. Let's say you're selling a specific, again, let's say take the yoga example that I mentioned before. You are selling leggings, then perhaps you want to sell a top that kind of goes together with the leggings, or perhaps you want to sell a yoga mat that kind of goes with the leggings as well. So when someone is checking out, you might want to have this little special offer at the checkout section that perhaps gives them a little bit of a discount if they add this other item to their cart. And there are some apps that allow you to do that on Shopify, don't get me wrong, but I would say you have a lot more advanced features when it comes to WooCommerce and building out all of these different sales funnels. So that is pretty much it. The only other thing that you also need is you will need a domain name, and you will also need an email address. And if you're using Shopify or using WordPress hosting, some of these providers, they give you a domain. It comes together with the hosting, but most of the time I do suggest to get it separately because it's just easier later on if you want to move things around. But again, I will leave some of the links where you can get very cheap domain and email and all of that, the things that I use myself. Now, the last step, once you have everything set up and you have created your store, now you need to look into marketing. And obviously this is again such a massive subject, and depending on your niche there are different ways how you can go about doing this. I do want to give you a couple of quick tips that you need to understand. So a lot of people, when they think about print on demand, they just jump straight into running Facebook ads, and definitely that can work really well, and especially it's good if you want to scale fast and all of these things. But at the same time, a lot of people that jump into Facebook ads, they don't quite have the budget to do that. It's not really enough to have just $100 to start out with Facebook ads. You will need a bit more because you need to sort of, for Facebook or whatever ads you're using, you will need them to learn what is the best audience to see those ads and come and make the purchases. So you do need a little bit of investment, so keep that in mind. If you want to do it a little bit cheaper, then definitely go with something like influencer marketing. That can work really well, and you can scale it pretty fast as well, I would say. Especially good method if you don't have much of a budget. You can set up affiliates. So this is usually when you already have a little bit of traction, you can have other people start recommending your products. You can create a referral program again, so just basically for your customers, they refer someone, they get credit for your store to purchase more. Something like SEO, a search engine optimization, basically ranking in the search engines, ranking in Google, is something that some people think that they are going to take advantage of as well. But this is something to understand also, that it takes quite a bit of time to start ranking, so don't expect that that is going to happen right away. One thing that I do advise to do, and I can't emphasize enough, if you're going to do print on demand, you need to create at least some sort of sales funnel, because whatever marketing method you are going to use at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you're getting the maximum out of that marketing method. So let's say even if you're doing Facebook ads, you are putting that money, you want to make sure that you're getting the highest return on investment. And if you just drive traffic to your website, they come to your store, they see the product, they don't purchase the product, they leave it, and that is it, you are just wasting money. But if, let's say, that person comes to your store and you give them some sort of offer before they even purchase the product or whatever, you give them some sort of, let's say, freebie. A lot of stores, they like to give out a discount for an exchange of email address, but I would say go even a step further and create a lead magnet. I have actually a really good free course how to create a lead magnet, so definitely check it out. I will link it in the description. And I also even have some templates that I sell for lead magnets, so you can create a lead magnet in just like an hour and give out that and collect those email addresses, so later on you can basically remarket to those customers. And this is one of the things that you must set up, and a lot of people skip this step, but it's super important. Set up email automation. So there are a lot of different email marketing tools that you can use for this. Again, I will leave some of my favorite recommendations, but basically set up email automations. It's going to take only one time to do that, but once you do that, they are automatically going to send out emails to your potential customers, and it's going to make you extra money. And you can set up a bunch of different rules. If, let's say, if someone abandons a cart, you definitely want to have emails sent out to those people. But you can also send out different sales, different promotions. You can actually create even a whole nurturing funnel where you start creating a relationship with those potential customers, and then later on you are trying to sell to them. There are a lot of different ways how you can go about this, but again, instead of someone just coming to your store and then leaving without a sale, now you actually have their email address, and you can get them back to your store again and try to get them purchase again. And let's say if you you spend $100 and you only got one person to purchase right away, and you only, let's say, made $20 or $40, and through your emails perhaps you got another 3 people to purchase. So you, at the beginning, you would have basically been in a minus. You have been losing money, but because through your email you managed to get some more people to purchase from you, now you are actually in profit. And now your Facebook ads, instead of being unsuccessful, they're actually making money for you because you increased how much money you are generating once someone comes on your website. And email, I would say, is the easiest way to do that, but also obviously you can drive those people to your social media channels and create some content that is going to drive them back to your store as well. So this is, I would say, a very simplified way how to start print on demand business. As I said, I am going to leave a bunch of useful resources and different tools that I recommend, that I use myself, and it's going to help you out. And I do have some special discounts and bonuses and whatnot, so check out all of the links in the description. If you have any questions, if you are listening to this as a podcast, then go to my YouTube channel, go to this video and leave your questions down below. Make sure to check out my main YouTube channel. There's a lot of really useful stuff there. Also check out my Instagram for some quick and actionable growth hacks. If you found this useful, make sure to press thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, put on those notifications. Stay awesome, and I'll see you soon.